Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise this morning to give a ministerial statement on this very significant day in Fijian history. Today, Madam Speaker, marks the anniversary of two major events in Fiji. Most importantly, it is the 139th anniversary of the arrival of the first ship that carried indentured labourers from British India to Fiji. Secondly, it also is 31 years to the day of one of the most traumatic and devastating moments in Fijian history, Fiji's first military coup, which was carried out by the current leader of SODELPA, Sitiveni Lingamamanda Rambuka, in May of 1987, in this very parliament, where he discharged his firearm actually up in that corner, and herded Dr. Bavandra and his government into trucks to be incarcerated. Madam Speaker, of course, one can say we had our first constitutional coup prior to that, when a minority leader in government was sworn in as Prime Minister before the leader of the NNP, Sidi Koya, went to get sworn in, Madam Speaker. Perhaps there was some talks about being backstabbed by the Gang of Three. Madam Speaker, clearly, however, the date of 14 May represents a tragic and cruel reality because it does not only commemorate the beginning of the tremendous contribution that indentured labourers of the Girimitis and the descendants have made in building the Fiji we know today. On this day, Madam Speaker, we must also reckon with the lasting damage and division caused by the 1987 coup, because due to the actions of Rambuka on the 14th of May marks a day that led tens of thousands of Fijians to flee our shores because they, as descendants of the Girimitis, were made to feel unwelcome, like strangers in their own home, in their own country, as our country was driven back into oppressive, divisive and destructive past. Some may say that it was a coincidence that the 87 coup fell on an anniversary of such an historic importance for so many Fijians. Others may say that it was deliberate, and indeed, if you read his accounts of the 87 events, you would say it is deliberate. Regardless, Madam Speaker, it is certainly marred and added a twist to what should be solely a solemn and respectful commemoration, and indeed celebration, of the arrival of that first ship, Leonidas, to bring women, men and children from British India here to Fiji. So today, Madam Speaker, let us give that historic arrival of the first Girimitis vessel the importance it merits. Let us look back on the moment the Girimitis first came to our country after travelling under inhumane, difficult and degrading conditions. Let us give the Girimitis the recognition they deserve, pay tribute to their stories, their struggles, their sacrifice, and ultimately their triumph, and their magnificent contribution to the building of our nation. Madam Speaker, under the British indenture system, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people from British India were transported across the world in small, crowded ships in the harshest of conditions, like the Africans were shipped to USA and the Caribbean, many taken from their families under false pretenses with promises of milk and honey around the corner, and some 6 months later landed here in Fiji. No consent was sought from anybody, including the indigenous population then, anywhere, including in Fiji. It was a decision made by the British colonizers alone to bring them to Fiji, Madam Speaker. And it was up to no one except the British. And after up to 4 months or 6 months at sea, the Girimitis were herded into cramped living quarters known as coolie lines. Where living there, they cleared land, they built roads, and they toiled in the cane fields and cotton fields and other fields under the crack of the overseer's whip. There are many accounts that exist from those early days. They tell of exploitation, they tell of mistreatment, they tell of routine and brutal beatings, they tell of rape, they tell of the excruciating hours of work, the pain, the suffering and the loneliness and the isolation for these Girimitis, Madam Speaker. They don't make for easy reading, in fact. Those accounts tell of a harsh and demanding existence. And there was no surprise, tragically, that the rates of suicide among the indentured labourers was exceptionally high, along with high rates of disease and infection that claimed countless lives. When I speak almost 2 years back, we heard many of the first-hand accounts from Girimitis read aloud during our commemoration of the centennial of the arrival of the Sutlej 5, the final ship carrying indentured labourers to Fiji in 1916, thanks to Dr. Ahmad Ali, who actually interviewed these Girimitis. We heard the stories of Girimitis in Fiji, the stories of Lakpat, Abdul Aziz, Mahadeo, Mahabir, Lautan and Pancham. All were brought and made to work here in our country, and whose descendants live among us today. It was an important and emotional and indeed educational ceremony that this government organized. We heard from many in attendance who attended these functions that up till then they did not fully understand the hardship these Girmitiyas faced in those early days. They did not know the brutal chapter in the Fijian history, Madam Speaker. Of course, Madam Speaker, we will be commemorating in a big way the 140 years of the arrival of Girmitiyas next year. Another fact, Madam Speaker, that some may not know is that many indentured labourers, because of the harsh conditions, sought to escape from the overseers, actually took refuge in Itauke villages. This happened to such an extent that the British actually had to make a law banning villages from hiding escaped Girmitiyas. And in fact, if you check the ordinances, you'll find that. The colonial separation, of course, began then. It was illegal, in fact, to give refuge to a runaway Girmitiya. Indeed, Madam Speaker, this lack of knowledge stems from the fact that the Girmitiya experience has been very much marginalized from the national narrative. Indeed, Madam Speaker, one of the, probably I would call one of the most honest intellectuals and academics from USP, Simeone Durutalo, who unfortunately is not here with us, very poignantly highlighted that the bringing in of the indentured labourers into Fiji helped buffer the indigenous population from the exploitation that actually took place in other countries by the colonial powers. And somewhat ironically, because of the politicization of their ethnicity, was subsequently seen as the greatest threat to their survival. Of course, Madam Speaker, this is because of the fact that many of these politicians still continue with that way of thinking, that our dynamics in politics is predicated on ethnicity. They, of course, need to rid their minds of the colonial way of thinking, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as highlighted, unfortunately, Fiji was subject to colonial social engineering designed to keep the Indo-Fijians and the Itauke separate and even turn both groups against each other. And the consequence of those practices and policies led to over a century of exclusion for Indo-Fijians even after the Girmit era ended. Though they lived in Fiji, though they worked for Fiji, and though they did their part and more in making Fiji stronger, the Girmitiyas and the descendants remained on the margins of our society. They were seen as separate even after generations in Fiji. They were seen as outsiders. They suffered under old colonial systems of oppression. Their voices were silenced, and they felt unsafe in their own country, the country of their birth, under discriminatory laws and policies of past governments in Fiji. But despite that great adversity, Madam Speaker, those indentured labourers always held on to the dream that one day their children and the children's children would find a better life in this country, that one day their voices would be heard equally, and that one day Fiji would truly become their home, they could call their home, and indeed they considered their home. Even a century ago, advocates in the Girmit community made very clear that all they wanted was equality. All they wanted was an equal voice, an equal stake in our national life. This was put forward by the famed advocate of common franchise, S.B. Patel, when he said, and I quote, "All we want is the recognition of the principle of common and equal rights. We should not mind if we had only 100 Indian voters in those days, provided we had a common franchise. We should not even mind if a European represented us, as long as he was elected on a common ticket." Now, there was one man, one vote in those days, because women weren't allowed to vote until 1963 in Fiji. Another advocate, Pandit Vishnu Deo, was one of the 3 Indo-Fijians allowed to be elected to the Legislative Council, and he moved a motion calling for common and equal citizenry back in 1929. The motion was defeated, and Mr. Deo walked out of the Parliament with the other Indo-Fijian members, and when the next nominations were called to fill Legislative Council vacancies, in a very powerful statement of national solidarity, no such nominations were made right up to World War II, Madam Speaker. In fact, Madam Speaker, in the early years, it was the Federation Party, which later became the National Federation Party, that once championed those calls for common role and the one principle, common and equal citizenry, and indeed a common name. A fact that many of our young people may not know, given that the NFP of today has fallen so far from the principles of its founders, Madam Speaker. They even have hesitation in having all the citizens being called Fijians. They still struggle with that today. It was an NFP leader, Madam Speaker, A.D. Patel. Madam Speaker, A.D. Patel, a principal leader, a leader with foresight and indeed a visionary, a resolute opponent of communal politics who said the Fijian independence should not move forward until there was common and equal citizenship, an equal voting system that treated every Fijian citizen equally. So, Madam Speaker, the dream for common and equal citizenry in Fiji had been a dream deferred for more than a century, until this government finally made it happen. Until this government realized that the dreams of A.D. Patel, S.B. Patel, Pandit Vishnu Deo, and all those indentured labourers brought to our shores those many years ago, along with their descendants. So it really is cruel, Madam Speaker, that on this day, meant to honour and dreams and legacy of those proud Fijians in 1987, SODELPA's current leader, chose to carry out the first military coup in Fiji, throwing this country into the throes of chaos and delivering a devastating blow to the campaign of justice and equality for Fijians, irrespective, Madam Speaker, of ethnicity, gender, province, Madam Speaker. On 14 May, Madam Speaker, Rambuka, the leader of now SODELPA, ripped apart the social and political fabric of our nation, triggering the most disastrous political era in Fijian history. His action drove tens of thousands of our people away from our shores, many of our best and brightest. And under his leadership, that day brought about nearly 2 decades of institutionalized racial supremacy and indeed ingrained provincialism through the 1997 Constitution, Madam Speaker. Many of our people were treated as second-class citizens. It was not only bad for inter-ethnic injustice or relationship, but within the ethnic groups themselves, in other words, obfuscating the injustices that group within the ethnic groups too, Madam Speaker. Because of that coup, Madam Speaker, innocent people were taken hostage, beaten, and threatened with their lives. The media was actually not free then. Fiji's sun was actually burned to the ground in Lemi, and some would know. It would appear some on the other side, one that happened today too, Madam Speaker. There were attacks on places of worship, and high-ranking and senior civil servants were forcefully removed from their positions because they were Indo-Fijians, not because of lack of merit or capability. There's footage of Indo-Fijians crawling under cars to escape being attacked. As violence across the country spread, racial violence, attacks, some organized, some random, some opportunistic. It was hell on earth, Madam Speaker. It was chaos. And anyone who lived through that time can tell you what happened, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that coup wasn't some momentary impassioned action. It was actually, Madam Speaker, an intentional attack on preserving the position of the elites, but predicated on ethnicity, Madam Speaker. And of course, well, you know what happened after that, introduced a racist, political and social structure in Fiji, beginning nearly 2 decades of divisive policies and transprovincialism and ethnic discrimination. Nearly 2 decades of corruption, reckless financial management that cost us our only national bank, the National Bank of Fiji, and nearly 2 decades of Fiji falling behind the rest of the world. That dark period, Madam Speaker, only came to a real end under the Bainimarama government, when finally this government said, enough is enough. Well, one would hope that we all have the good sense to do everything possible to prevent our nation from slipping back into that dark past and from returning to Rambuka's Fiji. Those lessons of history have clearly been lost upon some of us in this House, Madam Speaker, because the members of SODELPA now fall in line behind the same leader who single-handedly stained the Fijian calendar on this day 31 years ago, Madam Speaker. The same leader who once dragged our nation violently back into the past. And the honourable members of SODELPA, Madam Speaker, you can tell Rambuka that his regret for these actions is not enough. His regret alone cannot fix the damage he caused to our nation. The 20 years that this nation was stalled in its development, the families that were broken apart as Fijians fled the country, and the blood that was shed all because of his selfish personal political ambition. His regret has not fixed Fiji, Madam Speaker. This government has had to do that. And of course, Madam Speaker, we are now supposed to take that regret seriously. Because one does not, again, this leader does not believe in common and equal citizenry. He takes the issue with all of us being treated on a level playing field and all of us being called Fijian. To this day, Madam Speaker, he still fails to see the strength in our unity. He is blind to our progress, our nearly 9 straight years of economic growth, the investment brought to our country, the development we've delivered, the record number of Fijian children in our school, and the pivotal leadership under our Prime Minister is showing on the global stage, Madam Speaker. Of course, some do not understand. They make comments about his absence from Fiji. Now he claims he seeks to make Fiji free again, when all ordinary Fijians want is to be free of his old style of politics and to be free of the culture of violent political upheavals that he began. What the Fijian people want is to be free of the shackles he placed on our nation when he tried to turn Fijian against Fijian, when he marched in Parliament and drove those thousands of our countrymen and women from our shores. Madam Speaker, I can assure you that under this government, under our Prime Minister, one day when parties like SODELPA complete the journey into irrelevance, Fiji will finally be free. Free from the bigotry, free from the fear-mongering, free from the lies and free from the old politics of division, discrimination and destruction, free from Rambuka's Fiji. Madam Speaker, we on this side of the House recognize his actions for what they all are, evil and unjust. He claims in his books that he spoke to God. Madam Speaker, God does not tell you, Madam Speaker, to oppress the weak. God does not tell you to bring about injustices, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, while 31 years ago, some time ago, we are still paying for his mistakes. Quite literally, as the collapse of the National Bank of Fiji has resulted in an intergenerational debt that Fiji is still paying for today. It is we who have had to pick up the pieces, and finally the right wrongs that were done to the legacy of the Giramateas and the descendants and to every Fijian. And because of that, Madam Speaker, I assure you that it is we who sit on this side of the House under the leadership of our Honourable Prime Minister who will sit on the right side of history. It is this government, Madam Speaker, that is finally helping to realise the dreams of those early Giramateas who were so badly wanted greater things and a greater life for the descendants. And the basis for our greater progress has been the vast array of rights and protections in the 2013 Fijian Constitution. Our Constitution, Madam Speaker, that finally recognized all of us as equal and all of us as Fijians. Madam Speaker, for the early Giramateas, there was no access to education, and the children grew up with no schooling. People in villages had no access to education, Madam Speaker, unable to read or write. It was across the board. It was across the socio-economic spectrum. It was not based on ethnicity. But even then, they knew education was the key to a brighter future. Today, Madam Speaker, every Fijian child can get access to education. Every Fijian child, whether they're descendant of the Giramatea, whether they live in the Maritime Islands, whether they live in the villages, everybody, Madam Speaker, is treated equally. Everybody gets free education. Everybody has equal access to scholarship, whether the son or daughter of a chief or not a chief, whether a commoner child, they can get access to education, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, those days, of course, of the past are gone. Today, thanks to the leadership of our Honourable Prime Minister, Prime Minister, Secretary of Education now free for all Fijians, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just wanted to say, before I finish off, the vast majority of our young people know we are a nation of many cultures, many ethnicities and many perspectives. They know those differences don't make us weak, they make us stronger. They make our country stronger. They make each one of us better. And that is the real positive change that has been brought about by this government and that critical shift in our national mentality. And that is the greatest tribute we can give to the legacy of the Giramateas in Fiji, Madam Speaker. And that vision of an equal, inclusive and prosperous country must continue. And it will continue under this government, Madam Speaker, under the leadership of our Honourable Prime Minister. Madam Speaker, over the past 12 years, our progress has shown that a united Fiji and an equal Fiji is a very strong Fiji. We have shown that when we empower every member of our society, we will succeed. Young Fijians succeed, our landowners succeed, our civil servants succeed, Fijian women succeed, Fijian youth succeed, Madam Speaker. Fijians living with disabilities will succeed, Madam Speaker. Every Fijian will succeed. And as we head into our 9 straight years of growing the Fijian economy, we've shown that we are all stronger working together as Fijians towards a common national goal, Madam Speaker. It has taken unrelenting political will and it has required strong and decisive leadership to take us to where we are today. And make no mistake, Madam Speaker, it will take the same quality of leadership to keep the old forces of division and communalism at bay. Fiji will not be saved, Madam Speaker, by those who sit in silence like those in NFP, choose to do so, who do not display the stoic and visionary leadership that their old leaders showed. They perhaps simply after driving the black cars, Madam Speaker. Our progress will only continue, Madam Speaker, under the same bold and visionary leadership of our Honourable Prime Minister that this government has supplied for over a decade. So as we celebrate our progress and commemorate the proud legacy of the Giramateas in Fiji, Madam Speaker, let us reaffirm our stand against bigotry, against discrimination, against divisiveness. Let us reaffirm our stand against those old politicians and reaffirm our own commitment to each other as Fijians. Our commitment to working side by side to build a new and better Fiji. And that commitment, that camaraderie, that brotherhood, that sisterhood and that unity in our society, Madam Speaker, that is the ultimate dream of the Giramateas who were brought to Fiji 139 years ago today, Madam Speaker, and those who followed them. Madam Speaker, we are all living the dream today, irrespective of our backgrounds, and we will continue to honour their memories and their legacies in the years ahead, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker.